Hi, PHPers. It's Bruce here to talk about a different implementation of the MySQLI database connectivity that we've explored in CTEC 127, right? So let me just dig right in here and show you how it's done using the object-oriented programming way that is provided with MySQLI, right? So for a comparison, you may want to pull up your MySQLI connect.inc.php file. In fact, let me pull up mine. Okay, so let me find where mine is here. MySQLI. That's the old one. CTEC 227. Actually, htdocs. CTEC 127. Lots of stuff here. Let me go to MySQLI. And let me just pull this file up. Okay. Whoops. Open. Okay. So if you remember, right, this is the way that we used to connect to databases, right? We have a variable, and then we call the function MySQLI connect, and we pass it a whole bunch of stuff, right? And we set the character set, we check for errors over here, etc. Okay? Well, guess what? In MySQLI connect, in MySQLI using the object-oriented way, I'll just call that OOP for now on for object-oriented. We create a variable, we'll call it DB for now, and we use the new keyword because we're creating a new object, and then we call MySQLI and we pass in, right, localhost, the name of the server, the username, the password, and the database name, okay? So when we do this, it's constructing a new object and it's assigning it to $db, okay? The next thing we're going to do is we have an if statement here that says, hey, if, and then we're calling the property connect error, okay? So this object, okay, may or may not have this particular property called connect error. If it does, then we want to take that error and assign it to this variable called $error. And then in order to set the character set, right, the character encoding, we used to do it, where are you? Right here. We used to do it on line 25 here, MySQLI set, character set, database connection UTF-8. Well, guess what? In our new way of doing things, we just say take the database object and then call the set character set method, and we'll pass in UTF-8. Okay, much cleaner. Okay, much cleaner. Okay. So I stored this file in an include folder, and if you go out here, you can see here that I have an include folder, inc, and I put in this MySQLI connect.inc.php file. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do, okay, is I am going to open up, where are you, MySQLI test.php, and let's step through what I did here. The ultimate result here is to select data from the students table, okay? I think you all remember that, and I think you know where to find the .sql file in Canvas, okay, to recreate that. And if you need it, let me know if you don't have the students table. Okay, so at the very, very top, check this out. I'm putting a try statement here. And you remember we looked at this a little bit last quarter and we ran into some issues. Well, guess what? I have it all working and I want to show it to you. So here on line 2, we are going to try to do something. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to require the include file for the database connection. And then I'm going to set a variable right here called $SQL, which is going to be select star from students. In fact, let's just change this to be select first name, comma, last name, comma, student underscore ID, comma, email. Okay, so I'm going to get those column names from students. And then what you do is you take your database object and you call a new, well, not a new, you call the query method and you pass in the SQL from line 4. And you store that in what's called a result set, which you know already, okay? And then we have this thing on line 6 that says, hey, if something goes wrong, catch, and we did this in Python, catch the exception and assign it to $E, okay? Now, exception is a keyword. You can look it up. And $E is the common name we assign to this variable if an exception is thrown. If an exception is thrown, okay, we can take that object and call the get message, and I looked all this up. Whoops. I looked all this up on php.net under the documentation. We call the get message method, which will return to us the actual error that occurred. Okay, so you want to give this a try. Okay, so you can pause the video and get this code typed in. The next thing I have is the doc type and just standard HTML stuff. And then I have an H1, and then I have on line 10, line 18 through 20, right here, I have a PHP block that says, hey, if the $error variable is set, then show the error message that occurred, okay? So pretty simple stuff so far, okay? And that $error, right, gets set here, okay? Next, in this implementation of MySQLI, right, we can call the result set that we get back from above, and it has a property called numRows. Okay, it has a property called numRows, and we can assign that to a PHP variable called $numRows. And then what we can do and say here on line 24, if we don't have any results, then just display a little pretty message that says no rows were found. But if we do have a result set, show the total number of rows found. Okay. Now let me skip down here for a second. I end the PHP block on line 35, and then I create an HTML table in HTML. I reopen my PHP block here, and then here's something that's just a little bit different. Okay. I have a while loop, kind of like we did, in CTEC 127. And again, I grab a row, but this time by calling $result and the fetch assoc method. Now, what this does, fetch assoc, is returns to me an associative array. Okay, and I'm going to show you above here that there are different methods that this particular implementation has, and I'm probably going to show you fetch assoc, and then I'll show you fetch row. Okay, there's also fetch array, fetch all, and fetch object. And fetch object is really interesting because you can pass into it a class name. Okay, kind of some of the stuff we talked about in class. No pun intended. And it will create objects for you. Okay, it will create objects that have properties and methods. Okay, so going back down here, okay, I grab a row and then I end my PHP block. I have some HTML. I'll let you study that. And then I put these echoes in here with the data that I'm looking for. Then I reopen my PHP block to close off the loop. And then I close off, actually, you know something? I have a little mistake here. Okay, I need to have the table row there, and then I need to end my while loop. And then I close my table. Okay, and then again I open up my PHP script here, right here, to close off the if statement that was up here. Okay, this guy down here on line 56 is for the if statement. And then, okay, the way to close the database is to grab the database object and to issue the close method. Okay, so do you see how much cleaner this implementation is now that you know some object-oriented stuff in PHP? So let's save it. Let's go back out and let me refresh. Oops, I have an error. call to undefined method. Oops, I got a typo there. See that? So let's fix that. Query, 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 query. Oh, what happened? I think I dragged some stuff around earlier. Query. Okay, let's fix that. And refresh. And there we go. We have 82 rows, and there's all the data. Okay? Yay! Okay, so that's using the fetch ASOC, okay, method. Fetch ASOC method. So let's switch and go with one of the other implementations. Let's do fetch row. Okay. So I'm going to change this. So by the way, pause, and make sure you got all this stuff down. Okay. In fact, let me just save it as another version. File, save as, and we'll call this test fetch row.php. Okay. So now we're working with another file, and I'll upload these for you to experiment with. Fetch row. And instead of using the associative array, it's going to use the index of the column. Okay? And I think, okay, the index of the column, the way that you define them in your select statement. Okay? So let me try this here. So again, I defined up here, right? I said first name, last name, student ID, email. And then here, right, I'm doing first name, last name, student ID, email. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Now I need to change the URL here. Let me go back here to the folder and refresh. One more. Okay, there we go. And let me click it. And now we are using, see, the fetch row, and we're getting the same results. Okay, so there you go. Just different ways you can do, right, different things with this driver. Okay, it's a lot cleaner code. Okay, so during your final project, you want to use this implementation, right? I'm also going to show you PDO. Okay, I'm going to show you PDO. Okay, so I think you have all the ingredients here that you need, okay, to retrieve data. Okay, and this one right up here, this query here, this is where we're doing selections here, but you can also use your inserts and deletes and all that other good stuff using this technique right here. Okay, hope this video helps explain using the this implementation of the MySQLi connector/driver.